And welcome back to top 4 of our NorCal VGC Grassroots here. One more time, I'm Ryan, joined here by Zach, the brief cameo by Aaron, left hand, as always.
Classic.
We've got another familiar face on stream here. Let's hop right into team preview as our players are getting set up. We have Alex versus Ibsan. Alex, we did see earlier in round 2 with a very dominating win over Xavier.
Yeah, if you quick spoilers if you haven't seen that match. The Hisui and Arcanine just completely destroyed everything with Choice Banded, Head Smash, and Sword of Ruin. So we'll have to see if the Hisui and Arcanine can do the same sort of thing in this particular game, but it's going to be a little bit tougher. But we do see that Ibsan has a sort of rain team. I want to say it's a rain team. It's like Tornadus and an Azumarill, and even something like the Farigiraf makes it feel like a rain team.
There's no rain on that Tornadus.
It looks like it could be a rain team, but it's just, no, Azumarill's just a good Pokemon.
It's cosplaying as a rain team, but it's not actually a rain team deep down. Obviously, I get to be super excited. We've got a Farigiraf in top 4. I, again, love that Pokemon. Maybe we'll see it actually get into the game this time. I would love that. But
it's got a reasonable matchup.
I think the most interesting thing, and the thing that you can't really tell just by looking at this fancy graphic we have on the screen here, is Ibsan's Urshifu is the first single strike Urshifu we have seen on stream. It is not the fighting water variant that we are so used to here. It is actually the fighting dark variant. A little bit weaker to Flutter Mane.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Both sides are going to be vying for Tailwind in this, vying for speed control, trying to be the fastest team. Both teams do have Tornadus, so they're going to be trying to go for Tailwind, but Ibsan has the sort of backdoor option of going for Trick Room with something like that Farigiraf, so it might be a pretty potent option here.
And I really like Farigiraf in general, just in the matchup. It can stop Aqua Jet from Urshifu. Chien-Pao can't sucker punch you, so it keeps your Flutter Mane nice and safe. You can't be taunted by the opposing Tornadus, which actually, funny enough that we should mention it, Ibsan's the cosplaying as a rain team, but Alex's Tornadus does have Rain Dance. I don't think he's going to be clicking that one in this game. That feels maybe disadvantageous. It helps your Urshifu, but it also really helps that Azumarill as well. Extreme Speed from Arcanine, also not very good into that Farigiraf. So this is kind of a good setup for this Farigiraf. I think it could see play in this set.
Yeah, this is a really interesting matchup. We see like 2 Tailwind teams sort of going at it, but while Alex is like double down on Tailwind, Ibsan sort of has that hybrid option with like a slower Pokemon like Azumarill and the Trick Room option with Farigiraf. So that might be something he wants to lean on here, because playing the Tailwind mirrors can be really awkward and really not fun when you just lose the speed tie and get blown up by something. So might be looking for a little bit more consistency, but all speed all the time here, because we are seeing 2 Flutter Mane piece versus the Hisui and Arcanine that did Alex so well on stream last time versus the Tornadus from Ibsan.
And the Hisui and the Arcanine does get the Intimidate down, but it does get the Intimidate down into 2 special attackers, so it's not doing a lot there. I do think this is kind of interesting lead-wise for both of these. Obviously, Flutter Mane is... When you put Flutter Mane into your team builder, you have to think about, okay, how do I counter the other Flutter Mane lead? In Alex's case here, he switches the Flutter Mane out. He just decides he doesn't want to deal with that. I don't really blame him, as it's actually the Chien-Pao that comes out here. That's interesting when you're looking at another Flutter Mane. You're probably expecting maybe the Shadow Ball to come out across the board. But it's a quick Terra on the Flutter Mane for Ibsan here. This is going into that Terra Fairy. That does not look like a Shadow Ball, or at least he's trying to avoid the Shadow Ball. There's a lot that's happening here.
Yeah, we'll have to see what this... Arcanine does not go for the extreme speed, so Tornadus can just set up the Tailwind before this Arcanine does get to move. And the Flutter Mane is going to follow up with a Choice Specs Terra Fairy Moonblast, doing more than enough to bring that Chien-Pao right down to its Focus Sash. We'll have to see what this choice-banded Arcanine with Sword of Ruin can do. It is going to be a Rock Slide, and that's going to be a double knockout onto both of Ibsan's Pokemon. That is a huge swing here. Arcanine just coming out and taking names. That Sword of Ruin plus Choice Banded doing huge work. That's 2 Pokemon down for Ibsan and lost Terra.
You know, as is kind of standard, we do team checks for like packed in Pokemon or something. We might need to test this Arcanine for performance enhancing drugs because it is just absolutely going wild today. A double knockout with a Rock Slide is crazy. We do see the back two. It's going to be the Urshifu single and the
Flutter Mane we saw switch out there.
Azumarill. I'm at a lot.
Yeah,
I'm at a lot.
Azumarill does carry the Aqua Jet here, so it is threatening that Hisui and Arcanine, so either forcing it to Terra or potentially switch out here. The single strike Urshifu also in a pretty reasonable spot. Does have to worry a little bit about a Sacred Sword from Chien-Pao, but Chien-Pao also threatened by this Aqua Jet, so Azumarill is in a pretty nice spot here. But Urshifu can be a pretty reasonable switch in, assuming that a Play Rough does not go towards that slot. It is going to be just the Wicked Blow, which is a nice chunk. But that means that there's no Aqua Jet here, so Arcanine probably going to get to another attack. But the Azumarill is faster. It is faster in Tailwind, so just gets the Liquidation quick KO.
I mean, that's really kind of the perfect play for Ibsan right now. You just had an absolute devastating loss at the hands of that Arcanine. You really don't want it to happen again. Wicked Blow, I think, is absolutely the correct choice into that, what is now the Urshifu slot. But now Flutter Mane comes back out, and again, who really does not like that Flutter Mane? Specifically, Single Strike Urshifu is 4 times weak to it instead of the regular 2 times. But Terra is still an option here for Ibsan. He hasn't committed it just... Oh no, he did commit it on the Flutter Mane, actually.
So only Alex has Terra.
He can't get away from this absolute devastating Moonblast. He does have...
He's got Focus Sash on it, so it can take at least one hit. But there's an Aqua Jet potential from that Urshifu as well that you can't protect from. So this Urshifu is going to have to be handled delicately, I think, from Ibsan in order to deal the damage it needs to, because I think Azumarill is going to be really strong here, but it's going to need a little bit of help, I think.
It is going to be the Terastallization coming out from Alex onto that Flutter Mane, making sure no possible Sucker Punches are doing big damage to it. I think that's a smart choice, as the Terra Fairy will also boost the Flutter Mane's devastating attacks, as it's going to be the Aqua Jet coming out onto the Flutter Mane, dealing just under half of its HP. Wicked Blow into the Flutter Mane as well. Not very effective and not enough to pick up the KO. That's a lot of resources just for one Flutter Mane, as the Moonblast fires back, but it's into the Azumarill.
Ooh, that's still a lot of damage though, and that is a Assault Vested Azumarill, and so it's going to be taking both this Terra Fairy Choice Specs Moonblast and Surging Strikes, 2 this time, not just 1, not just 3, right in the middle with 2 Surging Strikes. But now it's going to be the Terra Dark Urshifu all on its own here. The Azumarill was taken out.
It is interesting to note that Sucker Punch is on this Terra Dark Urshifu, and there's nothing that Flutter Mane can do about it, but he's going to opt for the close combat. It's unfortunately not enough to get the KO. It is going to be a loss of its Focus Sash and most likely a loss of its life. I love going after the Urshifu there. It's just unfortunate that it does not pick up the KO.
Right. I think Ibsan's kind of got to play around Alex messing up here and sort of switching out Flutter Mane, fearing a KO there.
Well, this is the last 2.
Yeah, Alex... Oh, yeah. But either way, it doesn't quite get there, and it's going to be a quick, very quick KO for Alex here, as he is going to take game 1 here.
Well, in addendum on that, it wasn't the last 2. Chien-Pao had like 1 HP left from Sash, which you're not going to switch that in. That's just killing the Chien-Pao.
Yeah.
So I think what the idea for Ibsan there is you go after the other Urshifu, you knock it out, you have Focus Sash, and you're guaranteed a Sucker Punch into a Choice Spec Flutter Mane, and that's really his only out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not enough to get the KO on the Rapid Strike Urshifu, so you kind of just fall on the wayside on that one, but it was a really good line of thought.
Yeah, so interesting. So it was an interesting game. I liked Ibsan's lead, but the Hisui and Arcanine just got to click Rock Slide, and that just destroyed everything. So I think that is going to be, priority number 1 for Ibsan is make sure Arcanine doesn't get 2 knockouts with a quick Rock Slide.
I don't look at Rock Slide as a move that, like,
sweeps?
Ruins your day.
Yeah.
Most times Rock Slide's like, oh, a nice little bit of chip damage, and maybe I flinch you for my trouble. So I saw the Rock Slide come in as the last move of that round. Everyone else had already moved. I was like, oh, Rock Slide, you're not really going to get a flinch off of that, so that's kind of... And then their health was gone.
Yep.
It's crazy.
All gone. All the damage, all gone. So very interesting to me that Ibsan did not elect to go for a sort of Trick Room-centered approach, instead trying to sort of fight fire with fire, as it were, going for that Tailwind in the face of Alex's presumed Tailwind, but I don't think he even brought the
He did
Tornadus.
not bring that Tornadus.
Just going for all the offense.
Admittedly, as much as I'd like to sit here and go, oh, Farigiraf is so good into this matchup because all of this priority on the other side. Rock Slide's not a priority move.
That is true.
Chien-Pao's mere existence is not a priority move, so you really gotta. Is Farigiraf actually worth that slot? Not a lot of priority moves were clicked on Alex's side. Where's the attempt to deny it?
Yeah,
really
he clicked
from?
one move and got 2 knockouts. So
Yeah,
a lot of the
like-
damage was just centralized in one spot, which I think Ibsan's going to be trying to laser focus and target that specifically.
But we will be getting into game 2 here in our top 4 matchup, as it is the Azumarill coming out immediately along with the Tornadus for Ibsan, and the Tornadus and Flutter Mane on the side of Alex. So Alex actually has Ibsan's lead from the previous game. In the Azumarill, obviously, your Arcanine check, but there's no Arcanine here.
No Arcanine.
And there's no Arcanine anywhere.
Yeah, not even brought
He
to
was
the
left at
game.
home.
Alex sort of just said, I'm going to terrify you with Arcanine in game 1, and then either whether I win or lose, I'm not bringing it game 2, so it's not even going to be here. So Ibsan, all that sort of planning and fretting about it, going to be for not here. But Azumarill is in a pretty nice spot. Does have the Assault Vest, can take the attacks from both of these two pretty well. Fire back with some big damage. It does carry Ice Spinner, so it could do potentially pick up a one-hit KO onto this Tornado. So we'll have to see what Ibsan prioritizes here.
Going to be a Crystallization on the side of Alex. He's most likely choosing this Flutter Mane, going Terra Fairy once more to boost the damage coming from that ever-prevalent attacker. I don't presume that we're going to see a Terra on the other side, as well as the Tailwind from Tornadus is going to come out for his Ibsan here, and then a taunt. So he won the speed tie to get the Tailwind off. Now Tailwind off the board for him at least. Moonblast coming out of that Flutter Mane.
Yep, so the Moonblast will follow. It will go into that Azumarill. We saw that it does a huge amount of damage, even with that Assault Vest, but the follow-up Liquidation going to do a huge chunk back to this Flutter Mane. But I think it gets the better end of that deal because Aqua Jet.
Aqua Jet. Yeah, and there's no Protect here because, again, this is a Choice Specs Flutter Mane. It doesn't have the ability to stay safe, as it's an Air Slash actually going to go onto the Flutter Mane. Why use Aqua Jet when you can just use other moves? I haven't seen Air Slash in so long that I'm kind of surprised to see it used to such good effect there.
Sick of this happening, sick of Bleakwood Storm missing the target that you want. Azumarill is going to take that thanks to that Assault Vest. Tornadus gets away scot-free, and Azumarill gets to follow up with the Ice Spinner, doing it just shy of 90% to that Tornadus. It is going to eat one of its berries to heal a little bit back up. It's just going to be that Citrus Berry, so probably shifting it out of Aqua Jet KO range. But this Azumarill is dangerously low now.
I think we have to see a Tailwind come from Tornadus here. I think maybe you stall Tailwind so that you can have some power moves a little bit later. Your opponent's Tailwind is going to be gone in 2 turns. Now you can use it pretty safely yourself. Yeah. Tornadus is really, really threatened here. It's not going to move before this Azumarill in pretty much any... Well, no, it moved before the Azumarill even in Tailwind last turn.
Yeah, Azumarill's not that fast.
But also, Bleak Windstorm misses as it misses, so it's kind of... It's risky. Protect coming out of the Urshifu. Tailwind exactly as we thought that was going to come out, as it's the nice and safe play. Aqua Jet is actually the play here. Not enough to get the knockout, but it is going to be the Icy Wind on the side of Ibsan. It is not 100% accurate, but it is going to pick up the KO.
Yep, so Urshifu gets away on that turn without taking any damage on Alex's side, and does now have the 4 full turns of Tailwind in its disposal, and it's going to have to work with the Chien-Pao and those 4 turns of Tailwind to sweep the rest of Ibsan's team. Ibsan has not lost a Pokemon quite yet. Still has 1 more turn of Tailwind, so very soon after this, Alex will have a lot of momentum moving forward. See how Ibsan wants to try to slow this down a little bit.
Azumarill might be scared of Sucker Punch, but you want to know what would help it?
Farigiraf? Maybe.
It's the answer, I'm telling you.
We don't know what Ibsan has in the
We
back.
have no idea what he's got, but
it's been the Azumarill Tornado show this far.
I'm afraid because this could be my last chance to see my favorite long-necked boy, and I want to see the great 3D model. I've got PNGs up here. I need the 3D model. No, it's not good enough.
All the 3-dimensional.
I'm a greedy person.
Okay, well, we'll have to see if Ibsan decided to bring that in. Tornadus is switching out.
Tornadus switching out potentially for a Farigiraf. No, it's an
Urshifu.
It's maybe a better choice.
Very safe switching here. You just have very nice resistances to most of these moves. Aqua Jet gonna pop the Focus Sash on Chien-Pao and do over half to it thanks to a critical hit. Urshifu is gonna, I was gonna say take that Icicle Crash, but not that well because this is the fighting type, or sorry, the dark type version, so it does not actually resist the ice move. And once again, single Surging Strike gets the KO. Keep tabs on how many times you'd only need one Surging Strike to get a KO there.
I think Aqua Jet is a really interesting choice there. Because it does pop that Sash. Obviously, it did a little bit than just break Sash, which is super important. But now that your Tailwind has run out, Alex has 2 more turns of Tailwind here, but Tornadus was preserved. So Tornadus can click Tailwind again, try and get the speed back at least in balance for a little bit here to kind of enable this Urshifu. It took a lot of damage on switch in. It didn't take as much as maybe Tornadus would have, but it took a lot of damage on switch in. That's a huge threat.
Yeah, so both Pokemon with Focus Sashes have had them broken at this point. But yeah, I think that the big thing is that Ibsen was able to preserve his Tornadus by switching it out there. So now Tailwind has been expired on his side, so he can very easily set that up, negate the Tailwind that Alex set up, and keep it for 2 more turns. We do see the Aqua Jet does actually get the KO onto the Urshifu as the follow-up there. Very importantly, I think Sword of Ruin playing the numbers there quite advantageously for Alex, as the Tailwind does get set up. But I think Chien-Pao, as long as this Icy Crash does connect, could be a KO onto this Tornadus. There's only 1 more Pokemon left for Ibsen that's got to use this Tailwind to take out these last 2 Pokemon from Alex.
I'm big on the Farigiraf. It's not a good choice here, I don't think. As much as, it's going to be the Flutter Mane.
This is the perfect choice here.
That is the choice of choices. There's a lot of priority on the other side, though, and it's such a worry. You know, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but you want to could have stopped that Aqua Jet? Farigiraf. It actually is coming into play a lot more in this second game here than it did in the first one. Alex is clicking priority moves all over the place right now, as seen by there's a Sucker Punch, and an Aqua Jet's going to follow, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Sword of Ruin Aqua Jet is enough to get the KO onto the Flutter Mane. Gets the KO with the double up there. That was very close. If that had survived, the Dazzling Gleam probably would have been a double knockout, and we would have seen going to game 3, but damage rolls. That Sword of Ruin giving Urshifu the strong Aqua Jet just enough to get that KO. Huge for Alex there. Gets that in a 2-0.
Yeah. In all credit to Ibsen, that was... I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and goes, I think I'm going to get 2 KO or double knocked out by Arcanine Rock Slide today.
Yeah.
That's not really something that you prepare for. So maybe you get taken by surprise in game 1. I thought he played fantastically in game 2.
Yeah, really did.
But it is unfortunately the end of his run. Absolutely well played, as we are going to have Alex in our finals here in just a moment. We're going to get that set up, so we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to miss this.